Peace, peace, peace. Today's presentation is sponsored by Enigma, issue number 4. You go to my website, www.enigma.com, and I have a sale. You get 11 ebooks for $10. For a limited time, 11 ebooks for $10. Today I want to talk about several issues, several topics that I talked about in my shorts earlier. The first is about the death of Queen Elizabeth II and how it really means absolutely nothing to the American black people. Queen Elizabeth has been on the throne in England, the United Kingdom. They say for 70 years. That's since the 1950s, and before the 1950s, she was the queen to the king. It was a king, whatever his name is, but it really doesn't matter what their names are because they were allies to the United States for their entire reign. And when they were actually allies to the United States, they were complicit with the United States treatment of the American Negro. No rights, Jim Crow segregation, terrorism, oppression. Even though the American Negro went to fight to defend Great Britain in World War II, they still haven't really pressured or leveraged to use their influence to advocate for the rights of the American black people. It took Dr. Martin Luther King, Deacons of Defense. It took an entire movement for 100 straight years to fight for so-called civil rights, and even that fight still haven't really bared any fruit. But Queen Elizabeth didn't really do anything in that regards for the American Negro. They granted Nigeria, they granted Ghana independence in the 1960s, but that had nothing to do with the American Negro. So we don't care about Queen Elizabeth. She's not a friend. She wasn't a friend of us. Just like Barack Obama wasn't a friend. He did nothing for the cause of the American Negro other than exploit and get positions of power and wealth. And he distributed the power that we bestowed upon him to illegal immigrants, DACA, homosexuals, Africans. But nothing came by way of reciprocity to the so-called American Negro. So we not friends with Barack Obama or Queen Elizabeth or anyone else for that matter. We don't see anyone from another country, even in the United States, who have done anything to assist the American Negro in our plight, in our poverty, in our despair. So who cares about Queen Elizabeth? She had 70 years to make a difference and to be an ally or a friend to the American Negro. And she squandered it. So forget Queen Elizabeth. Who cares? You know, she could have did something, said something, pressured something, but nah, nothing. The Democrat Party, who the so-called American blacks are infatuated with, who give over 90% agreement and support to, have delivered nothing, have given nothing of value to the American blacks. You give them all of your power, all of your resources, all of your support, for nothing. You get evicted out your houses. You get foreclosed upon. You get no resources allocated to your community. You are required to get aborted, to get sterilized, to be imprisoned, to be executed, to be kidnapped, to be exploited, raped. All the destructive tactics is being done to you by this particular group of people. You are being gentrified, pushed out of your communities. You are getting denied bank loans, mortgage refinancing. You're being denied education. The resources that the so-called American blacks forced United States into compromise. The so-called white Democrats, white liberals, even the so-called Negro liberals have given this resource to all of these other groups of people. The Chinese, the East Indians, Africans, white women, Asians, who had nothing to do with the black struggle, who assisted not 1 second of their time in fighting for the so-called Negro struggle. Even to this very day, they sit back and watch our destruction. They give no outreach. They're not coming saying, let us help you. Let us mentor you into business. Let us assist you. It's just like Queen Elizabeth. They does nothing for the so-called American Negro yet. They want to enjoy. They want to exploit. They want to receive benefits from something they put nothing into. Nothing. So forget these Democrats. Forget the Democrat Party. They deserve no votes, 0 votes, because they have delivered nothing. You're given this relationship, this power relationship that you're in, this servitude relationship in which you give everything and they give nothing. And you still think that relationship is something that you should be a part of. It really shows the insecurity, the lack of self-worth, the self-confidence of the so-called American Negro. Been destroyed and plowed into grain, into dust by everybody. And this got to end now. This has to end. And I want to talk about 2 black people, 2 American Negroes is more valuable than all of the Latinos in the world, are more valuable than all of the Latinos who ever existed since 1942, when Columbus came to not the United States, but the Western Hemisphere, and so-called discover America, Latin America. They have created nothing. They have innovated nothing. They're still living off of the Mayan temples, the Aztec temples, the original American infrastructure. They contribute nothing. They have a whole country called Mexico in which they build nothing. They all want to come here and get something for free because they have no capabilities. And I say these 2 blacks, these 2 so-called American Negroes that I'm about to show are more valuable than all of the Latinos of all time, because Latinos are not indigenous to America. They're Spanish descendants. They're descendants of the English, of the Europeans who came and colonized and eradicated and subjugated the original Americans who were the so-called Negro. These Latinos had no culture. They're just the remnant of the Spanish conquistadors French, British conquistadors, Portuguese conquistadors, Jewish conquistadors, and during the coolie trade, they were the slaves sent here from India and China in the 1800s. That's why most of them look Chinese and East Indian, because they flooded the Western Hemisphere with Chinese and East Indians. But none of them are original indigenous. And none of them contribute nothing. Watch this. These two black people are more valuable than all of the Latinos who ever existed. This lady right here, Dr. Kinsmikia Corbett. Dr. Kinsmikia Corbett was responsible for the so-called ending the pandemic in Operation Warp Speed, in which the Trump administration invested billions of dollars in the coronavirus vaccine. And it was this lady right here who was instrumental in ending that pandemic. You see this video, this picture with her and Trump? You see that? You see that? You see that? You see that? Do you not see that? You see that? Nobody in the world had the capability to do what this person did. This is one black lady from Carolina. Nobody in Latin America, nobody in China, nobody in East India, nobody in Europe, nobody in these other countries who come here to exploit, who come here to take advantage of the resources. None of them had the capability of this one person. This one so-called black woman is more valuable than 7 billion people on planet Earth who's from the United States, descendant of the American Negro, who, according to Margaret Sanger, W.E.B. Du Bois, is an undesirable who should have been aborted. Imagine how many of these great minds was destroyed due to abortion, who was sacrificed due to abortion. But they want to bring all these Latino kids to the United States to eat, to get resources that their parents did not earn, that they don't have, that they didn't create for themselves in their own countries. They want to get something. They want to reap what they have not sowed. Yet the ones who did the work, you say they should be aborted. They should be exterminated. The ones who contribute the most, you say they should get nothing. Yet the world wants to benefit off of your creations, off of your innovations. Yet they give nothing in return. The next person I want to mention is just because they're two black people, American Negroes, are more valuable than all of the Latinos on earth. This guy right here, Jesse Russell, who invented the modern cell phone, who first introduced a microchip to a cell phone, who developed the infrastructure for the cell phone, the wireless communication network, which uses cell phone towers and fiber optic cables that's interconnected all over the planet. This man right here, Jesse Russell, who everybody in the world is utilizing his technology. Everybody on earth enjoys his technology. And he went to an HBCU. Is an American inventor, because they always called an American Negro an American, who trained as an electrical engineer at Tennessee State University at HBCU. Everybody on earth is utilizing this person's creation. Everybody on planet Earth who has a capability to get them a telephone is utilizing this man's technology. The father of the cell phone, the black man. You see what I'm saying? Not the Chinese man, not the Japanese man, not the white man, not the Chinese, not the Mexican man, not the Arabian Arab man, not the African man, the so-called American Negro, black man. Two black people are more valuable than all of the Latinos who ever existed, because the Latinos, all they do is destroy. The conquistadors came and destroyed the Aztec Empire, destroyed the Mayan Empire, brought disease, just slavery, stole all of the gold, just stole and benefited, stole the farms, stole the land, and just existed off of it for hundreds of years and didn't replenish anything. Then now they want to send their descendants to flood the United States. It's like locusts to eat up all of the resources here. Millions of so-called Mexicans want to leave Mexico and come to Chicago because they have no capability of taking advantage of the land that's already there. They come to Chicago and they do this subpar carpentry work, and then a couple of years later you see the house falling apart because they don't know what they're doing. Everything they build falls apart. Everything they touch disintegrates because they don't know how to build. They don't know how to create. They don't know what they're doing. They just got a hammering, but they don't know exactly what they're doing. And they're getting paid money. If you came from a country that you couldn't build any infrastructure in, that is a failing country, you should not be allowed to come to another person's country because you're not going to be an asset. You should be sent back and forced to do something in your own country instead of coming to freeload on another people. And then to make it worse, you come to the United States, you come to Chicago, and you look down at the ones who did all of the innovation and the work, who established the society for what it is. You want to come here and think you got rights to it, that you have not, something that you have not contributed to. But two blacks are more valuable than all of the Chinese people in the world, all of the East Indians in the world, because the East Indians contributed nothing. They contribute nothing to the world in the modern era. Does anybody want to listen to their music? Does anybody want to listen to their Chinese music? Anybody want to listen? They create no technology. All the technology they have comes from the so-called American Negro. So what good are they? They got filthy, nasty attitudes. They own all these donut shops, and a donut was invented by the Negro, not no East Indian. But the mountains, the sky, the sun, and the moon all show you elevation. But the valley and the peaks in the ditch shows you the depths, shows you the inadequacies. The valley and the peak, and you got the pit, the lava pit, the ditch, the swamp. You got the pigsty, the wasteland. You got the rivers, freshwater rivers. You got the desert. And you got to see which category is appropriate for each group of people. Which one flows with rivers of eternity, and which ones is barren and dry, poverty. And you got to think about what causes things to be barren, because you are selfish and you reap what you sow. You receive what you give. And if you have given anything, you have not given anything, you are not going to receive anything. If you have a people who have given nothing, selfish, it's going to be darkness and gloomy and poverty, despair. Everybody want to come and take from the so-called Negro, but they don't want to give anything in return. And they wonder why they're living in a desolation and poverty, ignorance, suffering. It is because of your own folly, your own foolery, your own stinginess. The most stingiest person on earth is the so-called white man, who feels that the earth is their grapevine that they can pick and eat. You see a grapevine, you pick the grapes and just eat and keep walking, but you never think, what can you give in return? You don't think about giving nothing, giving anything to the places you go. You think about just exploiting and just taking, using your military might and your cunning, deceptive language to deceive those into giving you something for nothing. And you wonder why you have nothing. You wonder why you're the most despised creature on earth. The animals attacking you because all you do is take, and give nothing. You give nothing. And then you have the world following this philosophy. Everybody going around scamming and taking from each other until there's nothing left. There's nothing growing. The stores are closed down. The farms are dried up. The rivers are dried up, polluted, because it was just the people taking everything with no concern about the outcome of their taking and their destruction and their exploitation. And then they just get up, pack up, and dip and leave you with nothing. A ran down city. And then they leave you to build the city back up. And then they want to come in after you built the city back up, after they done ran it to the ground. They want to talk about they want to gentrify and just take more. The thing about white people is this, right? They should be excluded, intentionally excluded from all social, economic, political functions, because they're going to come with the mentality of just exploitation, taking from you, and then just dipping, taking all the resources and just dipping. They feel that they just deserve your efforts, your intellectual property efforts. They just deserve your housing. They deserve your cities, your gold, your platinum, your technology. They're just gonna come take it and just run it to the ground and just gonna leave. That's all they've been doing since the conquests. Since the conquest, and they're gonna have to be put to the stop. And the best way to put them to the stop is to just don't cooperate with them and exclude them from all social, political, economic activity. And they would disintegrate, because they need a host to exploit. They need somebody socially, politically, economically to exploit. And the same for all these other groups who learned these tactics from the so-called white people. Looking for a person to take advantage of economically, politically, socially. And they use philosophy and religion to deceive you into this relationship of exploitation. But this presentation has been sponsored by Enigma issue number 4. Go to the website, order the books. Also, let me type the website up. Yeah, it's right there. Also, I got a Cash App. Send money. Send money to my Cash App. It's right there. $ Enigma. If you like this video, send the money or purchase the books. Whatever you want to do.